actually the 4 new metrics that we have. So we also have, of course, the career fitness index, which is sort of a calculated score based on those 3 metrics that we just saw. Before we get on to the next part of this presentation, I wanted to start a discussion with you guys. What is the added value you see in this? And I think Laura and team, you have the most experience with it right now, so you can comment the most on it. So what is the added value on this? And when would you use it? And when would you rather go for the one without the metrics, the report without the metrics? I also have some ideas on this, but I'd like to have you reflect on it. Any ideas?
I mean, it's Laura here. I would have to use it in order to answer that better, but I think our team in general would prefer having all of the metrics included, right? Okay. Rather than less, and then we have it as needed for our clients. So we like having as much detail as possible in the report. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know who's, Brian's on the call I see, and Nicole and Colleen, they may have something to add. They've used the report more than I have.
Okay.
And are you recording this, Walter? Because not everyone could make it. Are you recording it?
Yes, we are recording.
Perfect, thank you.
This is Brianne. I was just going to say that it's helpful to know sort of where those measures come from. And I do think it's helpful. Now that I know how to explain it a little bit better, I'll have to just test it out and see how it resonates with the clients. But yeah, I think it's a neat snapshot.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Brian.
Wouter?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, I have a question. Is it so that it's only visible in the coach report and not for the participants? Or
well, that's indeed a good question. This might be a bit different for our Canadian clients and our Belgian clients. So I think Laura, you've always been working with this report. So Laura and team, you've always been working with this report, right? Or am I wrong here?
Yeah, no, we have.
Yeah, okay.
For sure.
So it's already been available in the North American version of the report. Mm-hmm. And we've indeed included the metrics already in the coach report. So they're always going to be in the coach report, okay. which is a report. You don't have to show the customer that report. So mm-hmm. if you don't want to use the metrics, and I'll get into some cases where it might actually be preferable not to use the metrics, then you can simply skip them. And for the participant version, you'll have the option.
Okay.
So it's probably still not available or visible to all of you. I know Koen is working on it, so we have of course the report and so on, but then he needed to still do some language checks on the Dutch version, on the French version. Mm-hmm. And what you see always with the French version is, of course, that we run out of space because the texts are so much longer and so on.
Yeah.
Oh, be careful what you say.
So English is a very good bit. That's probably why it's the dominant business language right now, because it's more to the point, it's shorter, and so on. And then the Dutch is a bit longer, and the French is twice as long. And then we're a bit in trouble. So it sounds nicer, but it's not good from an IT or a reporting point of view.
If I, sorry to interrupt you. So if I understand what you're saying, you just say that it's now only available in English then for the participants, and not in Dutch and not in French.
It should be available. I know that Koen is. I haven't checked in the Talento environment, but it was going to be online because he knew that we had this this webinar right now. So it was supposed to be online. I'd have to check myself. I'll do that right away after this call, but it was supposed to be online. So it will be available in French, in Dutch, and in English. But for our Belgian coaches, so you will have the option to choose between the two. Laura, if you want that option as well, I don't know whether it's already not already possible, but it's easy for us to also enable that for you. So we can just let you choose which reports you use, and then let me get into so one. There's one case where I would think it might be a bit less preferable to use these metrics. That's when you're using it in, let's say, the typical Belgian outplacement scenario.
Okay.
Someone who's just been fired, they just had a huge psychological blow. And if they then get a metric saying that they're low on everything, that might push them a bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
A bit.
Yeah, I think for that reason, then we should have both options on our end to choose from. But I think 90% of the time we'll use the more detailed version, knowing us.
Well, it's good, but this is something. So in discussions with some of our Belgian coaches, we've already had that some were a bit uncomfortable using it in these scenarios. So
Mm-hmm.
I think anyway the way coaching is used, or the reason coaching is used in Belgium and North America is very different. So over here it's a lot because it is obligated by the government. That in our place in these outplacement scenarios where people are really down, that they get this right to outplacement, subsidized outplacement, and I think Laura, for you guys, there will be a lot more coaching initiated by the individual themselves, or am I wrong there?
Yeah, most of our business is the individuals, but we do some outplacement as well. So we will use it in an outplacement context, but that won't be the majority of our usage.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think if I can add something,
Sure.
I'm from Ormit, so we work with young professionals at the beginning of their career. And I would definitely advise our coaches to use this also, because it's a way also, if it's very low, it's a way to motivate them to take things into hands. So,
yeah, indeed, and I would guess, Anne, that in the case of Ormit, with all these young potentials, that the metrics shouldn't be too low. They might be a 5 or a 6, but I wouldn't expect a 2 or a 1 in your coaches.
No.
Except for
well, that's not the purpose anyway.
No. So yeah, otherwise there might be something with the recruitment or something.
And if it is the case, then it's a clear wake-up call, because they're clearly supported. So I would still use it then.
Yeah, actually, this is more what it was meant for in these high potential. For you guys, it's young potentials, but still in these high potential settings, that's what it's used for. That's something we see here as well. So the difference between our Belgian students and our North American students, and I have to say I have way more experience with US students than Canadian students, but our US students, first of all, they're very interested in their grades. So they're a bit less interested in the qualitative feedback they get from us, and they always come and ask us for our grades. And also, they're very disappointed if we give them a 14. So there's also a huge difference there. This performance-oriented culture where if our students get a 14, they think, "Wow, I almost had a great distinction." And that they're most of the time pretty happy if they get a 14 or a 15. Well, a 14, that's really, you've done a lousy job for a lot of these US students. They're very disappointed if we give them a 14 or a 15.
Yeah. Do you do anything with this cultural difference?
I'm sorry?
Do you intend to do anything with this cultural difference? Not immediately.
Well, actually, we are interested in also doing, but more on the company level, of course, culture reporting. So doing analysis of company cultures and then trying to map the individual compared to the culture. And for the rest, for the national cultural differences, what we are doing, of course, each language set, so each country based language set has its own norm groups now. That's one of the innovations in the new version. And that now we had enough critical mass for a couple of countries already, or for a couple of languages already, to develop their own norming group. So that's one way we try to, of course, level out these differentiations between countries. And for the rest, I'm using this. So I do this guest lecture for Marquette University on intercultural management, and that's the only thing I do further on right now with the country culture differences. But so if you have any ideas there, we're always interested to hear, of course.
Okay, thanks. Not right now.
Okay. Does anyone else have any ideas of, or can you think of any cases where you think of, okay, there it might be very helpful? And so we've heard already in young or high potential scenarios, it's definitely very interesting, I think, to have these metrics. Or other cases where you say, no, I wouldn't use it, say for the outplacement, something else than outplacement.
Can I ask something for the group? Is any of you using this also in the context of burnout? Helping people to reorient their career?
Personally, no. It's too dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Me neither.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
What I've seen is it was not the intention to use it for a burnout coaching, but based on the scores, I identified there was a risk for burnout, and 2 weeks later she was at home. So it's a very good, the energy stress balance, in my opinion, is a very good indicator to predict burnout.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing this.
I have exactly the same experience.
And in that case, would you use these metrics?
Sorry?
Would you, in that case, also use these new metrics?
No. It was enough with the old matrices, and because it's very confronting.
Yeah.
I had people crying during my session.
Mm-hmm.
I could imagine indeed that the metrics. So, yeah, that would be the reason for me to avoid it in an outplacement scenario. Anne-Françoise, I'm sorry, you are also sharing. So you also had a scenario like this in?
Yes, exactly the same scenario, and 2 weeks after, 1 week after, it was then clear for the person why she felt bad, and then she felt into a burnout just after.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did it help her achieve
her assessment?
Yeah. Did it help that person achieve some insight into? Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there was some.
We had to speak. We spoke. Then it was a real coaching. We had to speak about the professional objective, the values, and why this person felt bad. And then we spoke about this new professional objective and say, okay, what do you want to do in your career? And this person, it was a great experience, because this person then spoke to his boss. Explained the situation. His boss gave him another position within the company.
Okay.
But he wanted to become an entrepreneur, and therefore, after 6 months or 1 year, he developed his own project and left the company afterwards. But it was known within the company he was working for.
Okay, but then they have a positive relationship with one of their alumni instead of.
Yes.
Okay. Well. I'm glad we're recording this, so we might contact you afterwards for this, Anne-Françoise, whether we can use this as a testimonial or a case study. That's
with pleasure.
Well, really, nice case, because it turned out well. That was indeed a reason for me to suggest. Yes, Dirk?
No.
I was going to say, I would think that in case of a burnout, you would wait a while before starting with it, so that the person.
Actually, we've done some consulting on this for Dirk at Daoust. So we did some consulting on how to on structuring the outplacement process and how to use the career coach in the outplacement process. And what we came up with in the end, so after going into interaction with also the Daoust coaches, of course, was that it's interesting to use. So in an outplacement context, it's interesting to use only the energy stress balance tests beforehand. If that's okay, then you can do the rest. And I think Leslie also talks about this, Ed. So we've also always used this before also in the training, Ed, that we have seen quite a few cases where the values were all low, and you only saw that stability, for instance, was very high, and work-life balance was high, and all the rest was low. But then you also saw that the energy stress balance was very low. And sometimes you have these cases where they don't think of their career in a hopeful, in a positive manner anymore, and they don't see how it could be. They rather try to defend what they still have. So they just want to be left alone a bit, left in their comfort zone, and so on. And that's not a true representation of their career values. So therefore, in outplacement context, it would actually be my advice to say, first, only do the energy stress balance. And if that's okay, you can start with the rest. If it's not okay, that means that there's more care necessary in the first phase. You need to deal a bit more with the person and getting him or her on their feet again.
It's a chicken and an egg also, dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have a job anymore, your energy stress balance is not so good, and the day you find another job, it can help to have a better energy stress balance.
Yeah.
And you can help people to find another job by identifying what their core values are and career attitudes and so on and so on. So it's not a black and white situation.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Dirk. So what in any case should be avoided is that you do the energy stress balance. You see it's low, but then you get it up again, and then they jump for the first job that comes along, and then you miss the opportunity, of course, for some deeper reflection on the career.
Indeed.
So that's something that should be avoided. But depends a bit how low it is. So if it's a 1 or a 2, I would advise to say, right, to not use the rest of the test. And then I'm speaking against my my business, of course, but then it would not be opportune to do that, I guess, because those people are not thinking of how their career could be.
No, that's true. That's true.
Okay. So, any more questions on the use of the metrics?
No.
No? And I hope it's all clear for you what they stand for. So I've tried to capture it. That's why I'm also using this slideshow. So 1 or 2 bullets to just capture what it stands for, the career focus. So how pronounced and focused in your career is your career management? The career power, meaning how how able are you to self-motivate and to self-develop in your career? So for the longer run. And then your energy, more of a snapshot on how much energy do you have, do you bring to bear right now for any new challenge that might come your way. So I hope this helps you also if you're doing this in a feedback discussion and your coachee has some questions on this. I hope this helps. If not, let us know and we'll try to, so if you're still, you come across a difficult case or whatever, tell us and we'll try to go and help you out with it.